Springfield Vice Mayor Rob Rue, and Springfield City Manager Brian Heck. We ask that you hold questions until the end of the statements, and we will bring up Fire Chief from Springfield Township, Fire Chief Dave Nagel. He's going to provide an update with on the incident that occurred last evening.
Good afternoon. Just kind of a quick rundown. Initially, Springfield Township received a emergency alarm for a possible train derailment on State Route 41 in Springfield Township. While en route over there, we started receiving information that there was multiple cars that had derailed off the tracks. Initial crews arrived on the scene and noted somewhere approximately around 20 cars were off the rails itself. We were able to ascertain aerial pictures from our ladder truck to try to get some information on the cars, and we noted that there was 4 tanker cars that were involved in the derailment itself. We were able to get some photos. We contacted the hazmat team. Clark County hazmat team from the city of Springfield responded that truck to us. We decided at that point we were going to make a safe area for us to operate in. We initially set the zones at 300 feet. Once we had some conversation with the hazmat coordinator and the battalion chief from the city, we expanded it out to 1,000 feet for our safety. There was another incident that was involved with the train. There was some large high tension power lines that were involved. So as that process took off, we were not able to get crews up into the area initially to actually do any kind of recon to see what we had down until Ohio Edison was able to mitigate that electrical hazard, which took a large time, a large amount of hours. Once they were able to do that, the state of Ohio had a helicopter here for us. We were able to get the hazmat coordinator up above the scene. He was able to evaluate the situation. We come up with a plan to get into the site. As we did that, we actually noted that there was, once we got crews in there, we noticed that there was no hazards leaking, no spillage. So we were able to, at that point in time, kind of relax the situation and start backing out. Norfolk Southern was here, was with us the whole time. They were able to provide us with the MSDS sheets and the actual slots on the tracking material for their car numbers. So we had a pretty good idea of what we were looking for. We got up there, the 3 agencies, the hazmat coordinator, myself, and the Ohio EPA made the determination that it was safe, so there is no hazards, both groundwater, air, nothing like that. Thank you.
Next, we'll bring up Springfield Fire Rescue Division Assistant Chief Matt Smith, who will update you on the hazmat response.
Good afternoon. I'm Matthew Smith, Assistant Fire Chief for Springfield Fire Rescue Division, as well as the Clark County Hazmat Coordinator. The hazmat team was deployed at the request of Springfield Township to the scene, deployed with Hazmat 1, Medic 1, Engine 6, and myself. On arrival, performed the technical research to determine what was involved in the incident. We were able to ascertain that there was only 4 tanker cars that were involved, and they were all empty at that time. There is residual in there, but very minor amounts. After the technical research, they did a recon of the site, found nothing that spilled onto the ground, and nothing, very minimal material on the actual cars themselves that actually dried very quickly. There is no spillage onto the ground or into the waterways at this time.
At this time, we invite Ohio EPA Director Ann Vogel to give you an update on the environmental status.
Thank you very much. Ann Vogel, Director of the Ohio EPA. The Ohio EPA Emergency Response Team responded last night at about 6:45 We had 3 folks on site, and they're back out this morning. I can just confirm what has been said by our great partners, the fire chief and first responders, that there was no release of any chemical or any hazardous material to the soil, to the air, to the water. We were, of course, tracking that closely. There is one PVC pellet car that has affected the soil. We will be on site ensuring that as cars are removed by Norfolk Southern, that the soil is not impacted under the ground. So you will still continue to see the Southwest Office of Ohio EPA remain on site until the cleanup is complete. But again, no materials and no release. Thank you.
Clark County Combined Health District, Charles Patterson, the Health Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Charles Patterson, Health Commissioner, Clark County Combined Health District. The Health District was informed just after 5:30 yesterday evening of the train derailment. We began our assessment. Our initial concerns were that we had water recharge areas and private wells in the area. Looking at the data coming in from Hazmat and from the Ohio EPA, since there have been no releases, we're looking at clean air, clean soil, and clean water for our residents. Technicians will continue to be on site to ensure that there isn't any contamination that has been missed. There have been multiple sweeps by multiple teams of technicians, Hazmat and Ohio EPA, to ensure that there aren't any chemicals present in the soil, air, or water that would harm the public here in Clark County. Thank you.
Norfolk Southern General Manager of Operations, Craig Barner.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Craig Barner, General Manager for Norfolk Southern. Last night about 5 p.m. we had a train coming from Bellevue, Ohio, going to Birmingham, Alabama. Again, we did have a derailment involving 28 cars of the 212 that were on the train. None of those derailed cars were carrying hazardous material, and there were no injuries reported to the public or the 2-man crew operating the train. There were 4 empty non-hazardous material tank cars involved. Again, non-hazardous. 2 of them were carrying, had previously carried diesel exhaust fluid, and 2 of them had previously carried an additive commonly used in wastewater treatment. Norfolk Southern crews and our contractors responded overnight. Since there were power lines involved, we worked with the utility company to ensure all was safe before beginning the cleanup operations early this morning. We'd like to thank the first responders for the quick action in securing the site, especially with the high voltage power lines. And we'd also like to thank the public for their patience today and as we clean up and with the streets closed and the crossings closed. This derailment, as all derailments, will be fully investigated, and the findings will be turned over to the Federal Railroad Administration. Thank you.
State Representative Bernie Willis.
Hi, I'm Bernie Willis, State Representative for District 74 in the Ohio House. Just wanted to express how proud we are of our first responders, emergency management. I would certainly say that any day that we can have an accident like this that exercises the capabilities that we have inside this county and the expertise that we have here and the ability to do the things that they do without loss of life, without a major hazardous incident, that's a good day. And so I'm patting them on the back today. Love to see the way that they have set up, the way they have showed up, the work that has been done at this point. But also like to say that all the support that we've gotten locally already, obviously we're in a time where it's very sensitive with another rail event with East Palestine right on our minds and the needs that are there. But certainly wanted to say that in the Ohio House and Legislature right now, we're obviously looking for all of the things that will come out of these incidents so that we can find good legislation if it needs to be formed and passed, that we can do that and ensure the safety of our residents in Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you. Clark County Commissioner Sasha Rittenhouse.
Good afternoon, Clark County Commissioner Sasha Rittenhouse, and I just want to thank from township to the county to the state level, all the folks that responded did a wonderful job. They've worked through the night and are continuing to work today to make sure that the area is safe, that everything's safe, that communications are going well, that everybody knows what's going on, everybody's on the same page. And so from the county level, I just want to express my thanks for all of the hard work to everybody who showed up to help get us through this train derailment.
Mayor Warren Copeland.
Well, we're glad that none of this happened inside the city limits, but having said that, city staff were involved in responding, and we appreciate that. And we also are very careful to take to see that our water isn't damaged by what happened, because our water is one of our primary resources. So we were lucky that we weren't involved directly, but we are trying to be just as helpful as we can to the cleanup of this situation. And we're grateful that it seems that the cars that went off the line, none of them had anything that was dangerous to our people.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the incident commander, Norfolk Southern, Ohio EPA, and Public Health up here to join us. We will open it up to questions. We do have a hard stop time, and we'll let you know when we reach that.
Right now, it looks like Tuesday is the first we'll be able to get the asphalt to repair the crossing.
What can you tell us about the rest of the train? I know you said there were no hazardous materials on what derailed, but what about the rest of this train? Were there hazardous materials on any of this train's cars?
Yes, sir, there was. There was a couple liquid propane cars on there and a couple ethanol cars. The rest of the train was made up of mixed freight, a lot of steel, finished automobiles, and a lot of the cars that were actually derailed were empty box cars.
And those 4 cars that were highlighted as having a diesel additive and wastewater additive, saying those were previously holding those materials but were empty at the time?
That's correct.
Okay. And just one more question for you, sir. What would you say to people with this, look at these Palestinians, now the 4th derailment in this state by your railroad in less than 5 months? What do you say to people who say you shouldn't be operating right now?
I would say that, first of all, safety is our #1 priority. With this derailment, just like every other derailment, we do a full investigation, and if there's takeaways or things we learned from the derailment, we implement those. And I will say that derailments of this type for our company is actually on the decline year over year.
Do you have a sense of what caused this derailment yet and how it compares to what caused?
No, the cause is under investigation. We still have a lot of investigating to do before we can come to a cause.
Was this on the same rail line and all that the train that went through East Palestine was on?
No, sir.
And now you said that there was one PVC pellet car. Can you explain what that is?
Plastic pellets.
And are they hazardous or?
No, ma'am. No.
But did they spill out? So that's what has to be cleaned?
Yeah, there's a small amount that spilled.
Okay. And again, just to confirm what was said before, the 4 cars that did have some contaminants, they were empty?
Correct.
And they had materials before?
Yes, that's correct.
You said this train is going from Bellevue to Alabama, to Birmingham, Alabama?
Correct.
Was that where it was supposed to drop off its load?
Well, so this train would have stopped in Chattanooga and then Birmingham.
Question for the fire department. One of you mentioned that nothing spilled on the ground. It sounded like something did leak out of some of the derailed train cars. Can you just clarify?
It was actually what they think it was a sludge that just, when the train hit, it splashed upward. It just a very little. It didn't even run down the length of the car. It was only just a few inches in length. By the time the crews got up to it, it was completely dried off.
And that was sludge from inside the train car?
We're assuming yes. I can't confirm that, but there was no leaks anywhere, top, bottom, or sides of these vehicles.
So you're not entirely sure where the sludge came from?
I'm assuming it was probably splashover.
I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
Okay, but no leaks on any of the
None.
cars?
None
Came
whatsoever.
from somewhere outside of the cars?
Yes, I'm not sure what it was, but yes, it come.
Definitely not from within those cars?
Correct.
What are, from the power lines that went down, is power restored? How long is power going to take to come back in this area?
I'm not real sure yet. They're still up there working. I don't know if there's a representative from Ohio Edison in the building or not. We've spoke with them. It was a very large transmission line. It was 69,000 on the top and 7,200 on the bottom. As I stated earlier, that's the reason that the process took the length of time that it did. Ohio Edison was very vigilant of keeping us safe in the area, so they had to shut down transmission. They had to ground out all the service for us, so I'm not real sure. I think that once they get some area up there along the actual derailment site, they will be able to probably get that restored fairly quickly. It's just going to be getting their vehicles back to them. There's still a few train cars that are up there that they got to maneuver around.
Question for state EPA. So we just heard that there were some hazardous materials on some of the cars on this train. We know what previously in the cars that derailed. Give us a sense of what the potential risk would have been if any of that had leaked into the community, and how that compares to the worst case scenario of what leaked into the community's housing.
Yeah, I don't want to speak to what might have happened. What we know is what was involved in the derailment, which was no hazardous materials.
But if those had leaked, how do those compare to the threat of vinyl chloride in the community?
Yeah, I really can't speculate on what might have happened. Thank you.
Okay, and also, just I don't know if it would be or someone else from the state could answer this, but I know one of the concerns from East Palestine is that the state was not aware that a train of hazardous materials was going through the state. Was the state aware that this train had hazardous materials on it prior to the derailment?
There is not a short answer to that question. We are not made aware of every train car that comes down the track. They are not legally required to notify us. They are only required to notify us if they are a highly flammable train car, and that is 20 cars consecutively in the rail with highly flammable fluid, or 35 cars throughout the rail car. To my knowledge, this train did not meet that standard, so we were not notified, which is not uncommon.
The residents how many residents are still without power?
41? 49. Obviously 49 at this point in time. So once again, Ohio Edison is here to confirm that. So that's just the numbers we've been getting.
And for you, sir, what do you feel Norfolk Southern has been able to do? What have they learned from past derailments that has enabled them to initiate some safety protocols that maybe they didn't have last year, or that have been helpful?
Like I said, we fully investigate every derailment, and if there's takeaways or things that need implemented, we do.
Have you been able to implement anything from East Palestine yet?
Sir, I'm not at liberty to discuss East Palestine.
Did this reaction from all the organizations change at all because of East Palestine, or was it more of a, we got to get on this with the EPA or anything, or this was how you would have reacted if that had not happened?
From the fire department standpoint, yes, this is normal practice for us. I was very impressed last night with the way all the agencies come together. The rail company was on site with us. They were by our side the whole time. Obviously gave us all the documentation that they needed us to have and we needed. It was very good to see the EPA, the EMA, all the utility companies, the railways, everybody worked in unison. So it's not uncommon for us on the fire and first responder side to see this type of action take place on pretty much every incident.
Was the shelter-in-place decision impacted at all by what happened in East Palestine?
No, the shelter in place was enacted because of what we determined that we thought was the problem initially. So we actually backed up, and then we decided to increase that just for the safety of us and the general public around us. There's very few residential homes that were affected in that area. I believe it was 4 to 5 houses.
Are there any efforts being made to help the families who still don't have power?
We tried to contact them last night on the scene. We sent crews up to their doors and was not able to make contact with anybody that was in them homes at that time. I believe they took the evacuation or the shelter in place, and we have nobody's contacted us for any help. I'm not sure how much of them folks are back on power-wise at this time. Once again, that would be something High Edison would have to probably answer.
Question for Norfolk Southern. I know after the derailment in East Palestine, your company said that Norfolk Southern is in the process of inspecting nearly 1,000 wayside heat detectors on its system. Do you know if wayside detectors in this area have yet been checked following that incident?
I don't have that information.
What can be done, as obviously we've seen multiple training from the railroad recently, to improve the safety of our trains and our rails that pass through our communities?
I will say this again, we investigate every derailment, and if there's something we take away from that derailment that we need to implement, change, we do that.
There have been comments made by people in this area that they can tell that the tracks weren't working properly. How often does the company check to make sure that there isn't anything wrong with the railroad tracks?
I can't answer that. I'm not in the track department.
When do you expect trains to be moving down these tracks again?
The last of the cars were clear around 3 p.m. and we were estimating 12 hours of track work to be done after the last car was clear.
At this time, we're going to take 2 final questions, and we'll wrap up this press conference. Thank you.
Is there anything just to reassure the community officer that is very scared right now for watching what happens across the state just as a final insurance?
Well, I want to thank Clark County and EMA. I think they're doing a great job, obviously providing a lot of information up front. If there's anything we've learned so far, it's, transparency matters, encouraging facts, not misinformation. So we will continue to be good partners in terms of getting the facts out, and appreciate your support in that.
What would you say for the railroad? What would you say to people who are questioning why less than 24 hours after, or about 24 hours after, less than 36 hours after this derailment, in the midst of intense scrutiny around a previous derailment about a month ago, you guys are up and running on those tracks again? Why is it appropriate to be back at it so soon?
I would say that again, we take what we learn from the derailments and we'll change what we need to, but safety is our #1 priority. And as I stated earlier, our derailments, our mainline derailments, are on the decline.
But this is the middle of a renewed focus on that safety, and it still didn't prevent something. Again, a month later, while you guys are presumably paying that much more attention, while the world is paying that much more attention to your operations right now, and that didn't stop this.
Sir, I can't speculate on what caused this derailment. We're still in the middle of an investigation, so I don't know what caused it.
Well, why not pause operations?
That's going to conclude our press conference today. We appreciate you all being here, and thank you.
Can you guys tell me where we can find the list of what was on the train? The manifest list? Can I know that?
No, I cannot.